Hello, and welcome to this video. While going over the comments on our group wall, I noticed a few of you wanted me to make a flight script, so in this video, I'll be going over how to make a simple flight script.
Roll the intro.
To understand the approach I am taking, you must first understand how movement is handled. In Roblox, the client, or user, handles all movement related to their character. Alright, first things first, we want to create a local script in starter character scripts. I'm going to name it flight. The first thing I want to do is think about how I want to organize the code. I'm starting with defining all the services I will need in this script. If I discover midway through that I need another service, I can always come back and add another service. For this script, we will need the players, user input service, replicated storage, and run service services. Next, we want to define the player in a variable, as well as the player's character, humanoid, and humanoid root part. We will also be using the camera for calculations, so we want to add the camera as a variable. We want to be able to toggle between flying and not flying, so we use a Boolean variable to help. Next, let's create a flight speed variable that will help us control how fast the player will be flying. This will be a number representing a percentage of speed. 100 would be equal to roughly 60 studs per second. We'll be using a body gyro instance to control where the player is facing while they are flying. We want the dampener to be about 300 and a max torque as high as we can get it, so we'll use math.huge in each direction. We'll also be using a body position instance. This will be used to control the positioning of the player while they are flying. For the body position, we want a dampener of again about 300 and a max force of about 99,999 in each direction. We want to keep track of where the player wants to fly, so you'd be using a table to store the information. FWD representing forward and backward, SDE representing sideways or left and right, and up representing up and down. Next, let's create a local function called start. If the player is already flying, we don't want to start again. Instead, we return and output a warning. Now, we want to parent the body position and body gyro to the player's humanoid root part, and set the position of the body position to the player's humanoid root part's position. We'll set is flying to true and enable platform stand for the player. Every frame after physics are simulated, we want to reposition the player and orient the player correctly. We'll do this using the heartbeat event from the run service. We will position the player by using a new Vector3 object. If the player is requesting to move forward, we should allow them to move forward. If the player is requesting to move backward, we should again allow them to move backward. We should do the same thing for left, right, up, and down. Once that is all complete, we want to officially set the player's position according to where the player wants to move. Next, we want to create a local function called stop. This will parent the body position and body gyro into replicated storage for the time being. It will also set isFlying to false and disable platform stand for the player. To allow the player to control their flight, we want to get input from the player using user input service. If the input has already been processed by the game, we want to return. If the player is pressing F, we want to toggle flight for the player. If the player is pressing W or the up arrow, we want to allow the player to move forward. If the player is pressing S or the down arrow, we want the player to move backward. A and left arrow will move the player left. D or right arrow, move the player right. Space, we want to allow the player to move up. And left control, we want to allow the player to move down. Now, when the player releases any of these buttons, we want to reverse the effects we just applied. If the player releases W or the up arrow, we want to remove one from the FWD direction or forward direction. The same applies to each direction. Alright, let's test this now. That is all for this video. If you have a video suggestion, feel free to join our Discord server and leave your suggestion there. We will return to the beginner scripting series for the next video. A quick reminder that the Supreme Scripter applications are still open until November 27th.